Okay, so we are going to start. We are going to have this talk about Ukrainian type design. We are going to do it right now with Kateryna. So please come in, please take a seat. So thank you, Kateryna. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Happy to see you here today. My name is Kateryna Korolevtseva. I'm a brand designer and type designer from Ukraine. And today we will talk about Ukrainian type design, roots, identity, and modernity. A few days ago, my friend asked me if I have prepared some jokes for my talk, and I told her, what? Jokes? My jokes are bad even in Ukrainian. In English, jokes, no. So please be prepared for the serious talk. A few words about Ukrainian Cyrillic, about our roots. I will show just a few points because I can't tell you the whole history, just a few points. So this is Sophia Cathedral in Kiev. It's a landmark of our history and architecture of Kievan Rus, and it was built in 1011-18. You can see that it's very beautiful, it's impressive. And for example, the walls of Sophia of Kiev, they have graffiti, inscriptions and drawings. Many graffiti of Sophia of Kiev are landmarks of Ukrainian language. So the oldest of the graffiti of Sophia of Kiev are not written in Cyrillic, but in Glagolitic. And also, for example, the so-called Sophia alphabet was found on the wall of the St. Sophia's Cathedral by Ukrainian scientist Vysotsky. And he believed that this alphabet is a monument of the transitional period of the national writing system when just a few letters were added to the Greek alphabet in order to convey certain phonetic features of the old Ukrainian language. Also, one of the important historical heritage examples is this Ostromir Gospel from Kievan Rus. It was rewritten in 1056-57 from the Bulgarian original, and it was written in the oldest Cyrillic lettering called Ustav, or Uncial, we call it. Yeah, so it's very important, and you can see there's the example of Ostromir Gospel here. The second important point is monument of the old Ukrainian language and art of the 16th century, Peresopny's Gospel from 1556-61, and it's one of the first translations of the biblical canonical text into old Ukrainian literary language. So you can see how deep are our roots, and I want you to learn about it. And it was written in Ustav and half Ustav, half Uncial, with elements of cursive writing. Our cursive writing is called skropis. It's handwriting, like cursive lettering, which developed from half Uncial in the second part of the 14th century to speed up the writing. Yeah, and on the left and on the right, you can see example of the contribution of Ivan Skoropadsky, hetman of the Zaporizhia army, with his personal signature in cursive, in skropis. And a few words about Ukrainian printing. Maybe, like, you know, you don't know that the first known Ukrainian printer was actually Stepan Droban from Lviv, and Ukrainian printing began in Lviv in the 15th century, and it has roots from the German principalities of that time, but not from Moscovia of 16th century. So it's important to know, like, the truth, because Moscovites of that time, it was called Moscovia. They said that Ukrainian printing came from Moscovia. It's not true. We can't know, like, whether Stepan Droban already used Gutenberg's technology. I guess not, and I guess he used like xylography technology. The next important point is Ukrainian Antiqua. In 16th century, Ukraine has developed a special Ukrainian style of Antiqua with some Latin Greek letters. And on the left, you can see the book cover, which was printed in 1623 in Kiev-Pечерsk Lavra. And on the right, you can see very beautiful, I like it, the title page of the register of the Zaporozhian army created in 1649. Yeah. But you know about this period of Reformation, reform of Peter I, civil script. I'm sure you know about it, and it completely ruined the visual appearance of Cyrillic alphabet. Russia stole a huge part of our culture and appropriated it. They did it hundreds of years ago, they continue to do it now. They destroyed our language and even writing. Peter I began to implement his reforms, starting from military, economy reforms, and then the reformation of the language began. So the goals were to create here as a single font for printing presses and unified alphabet for book writing. But Moscovia, they didn't had alphabet for unified alphabet to use. So Peter I, he was asked to look at South Slavic system, which existed in Kiev at that time, and he created so-called civil script. A lot of letters were removed because they didn't exist in Russian language, but they were in Ukrainian language, and it's everything you should know about this part of history. And then in 1876, the Russian Emperor Alexander II passed an act according to which all Ukrainian graphemes, some of them still existed, they were banned. Ukrainian texts, even those permitted by government censorship, had to be printed using Russian alphabet. So this is our hard history. And now I would like to talk about how Ukrainian type designers they are trying to revive our heritage, and in the modern context, how we use our roots, our history. In this picture, you can see Vasil Chebanik. He's professor, calligrapher. He's almost 90 years old, he's 89. And on the left picture, you can see his beautiful calligraphy for the book cover. And this is Rutenia. This is like a project of Ukrainian alphabet. And the essence of the project is to return the graphics of the letters to the real pre-Peter Cyrillic alphabet. And this idea is very important now. Some Ukrainian designers like this idea, some designers don't like these ideas, but it's important to show and to come back to our roots, to traditional shapes of the letters. You can see some letters like Sha with descenders, letter Zh. Here is Rutenia. It's also a digital typeface. It was digitalized by other designers. And it's important to come back to our roots. For example, here you can see the work by Georgy Narbut. He is like a father of Ukrainian alphabet and graphic design. He was born in 1886. And here you can see Presopnitsk Gospel, which you already saw. And on the left and on the right, the work of Georgy Narbut. So Georgy Narbut, he was inspired by our heritage. Moscovia was trying to destroy, to burn our heritage, but Georgy Narbut has found inspiration in this, and now modern Ukrainian designers, they are being inspired by Georgy Narbut. So it's important part of our history and roots. For example, here you can see letter N, which looks like Latin, yeah, because it has Greek roots, and Georgy Narbut used this letter N. And how modern designers use this inspiration? On the right photo, you can see Vika and Vita Lupachini. They are sisters, calligraphers. Vika is here today. And they create awesome lettering, calligraphy, and on the left picture it is written, "Good evening, we are from Ukraine." And also you can see in the last word this letter M, more traditional for Ukrainian language, Ukrainian writing. You can see works by Zhenya Spizheviy. He is also a calligrapher, and in both of these works you can see also this letter N, which is traditional, and on the left side it is written "Glory to Ukraine," and the right is a part of our national anthem. And by the way, this work received TDC award this year. This is a typeface superfamily by Dmytro Rastvortsev, Ukrainian type designer. This type family is called ATypI. And also in this series, you can see some influence from Georgy Narbut. This is the work of Vasil Krychevsky, also famous, important, prominent Ukrainian graphic artist of the previous century with amazing heritage. And this is Ukrainian hryvnia money from the Ukrainian National Republic. And you can see the first letter U with such a nice rounded tail. Sorry. So this work, for example, you can see it here also, this letter U with this rounded tail. And it's like a signature of Vasil Krychevsky. And this grapheme is also quite traditional for Ukrainian letters and shapes. And this is also a typeface created by Dmytro Rastvortsev. And also you can see letter U with this rounded tail. This typeface is called e-Ukraine, and it was developed for the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. Yes, we have such ministry. And they use it, for example, here. These are examples of their application called DIA. DIA means action. It's a governmental application. And every Ukrainian has passport and other important documents in the smartphone. Ukraine is a very digitalized country. Talking about Dmytro Rastvortsev works, I can't mention his last work called Yoav Sons. Yoav means Ukrainian Armed Forces, and he created this typeface. It's a brand typeface of Ukrainian Armed Forces. Yes, they have their own type family. And on this picture you can see the main brand designer of Armed Forces of Ukraine and Commander-in-Chief Valery Zaluzhny. And in their hands they have a brand book of visual communication of Armed Forces of Ukraine with their own typeface. So it's cool to have such a great army, not only in power, but in visual power as well. These are works by Nil Hasevich, important Ukrainian graphic artist, and he created a lot of works for Ukrainian army as well. And in 2022, Ukrainian designer Marcheva Mozhina, she created like a revival and her own interpretation of these letterings by Nil Hasevich. So she created this typeface called Vola. Vola means will, freedom, something like this. Marcheva is a researcher, and she makes a lot of amazing scenes. She's collecting old book covers as well. And Ukrainian Armed Forces also, they use this typeface. This is my favorite Ukrainian graphic artist of the past century, Mikhailo Dmitrenko. I love all his works, all his letters. He lived, a lot of Ukrainian graphic artists, they lived in different countries, wars. And I was inspired by Dmitrenko, and in 2022 I created this header for Alphabets community. Hello, all amazing women from Alphabets. If you're here, let's meet after my talk. So this header was inspired by the cover of Mikhailo Dmytrenko, and it's a translation of alphabets in Ukrainian, abetki. And I also wrote a small article. These are other works by Mikhailo Dmytrenko. I also love these shapes, but they are different. These letters are quite different with another character. And also, after the beginning of the war, I created this logo, bespoke logo for the Green Theater in Odessa. It's a legendary open-air amphitheater built in 1936. And they had logo inspired by Soviet signages, and they told me, we don't want to use it. We need something with Ukrainian soul. We need something with Ukrainian roots. So I was inspired by our heritage to create this logo for the Green Theater. This is another prominent Ukrainian graphic artist, Yakov, or Yakush in English, Khnystovsky. His works were in the White House when Kennedy was the president. Yakov Khnystovsky, he was inspired by Japanese works, like German works. He lived in Germany, he lived in United States, in New York. And I love this style, this visual style. One day I saw this cup and I thought like, wow, it reminded me of Khnystovsky's style. And on that time I was working on the poster project for the exhibition in the Green Theater dedicated to Ukrainian literature. So I was inspired by Khnystovsky's works and by that cup to create this poster using Zhadan's poetry. Serhiy Zhadan is a prominent modern Ukrainian poet, and the first words are, I will invent new letters and punctuation marks. I will kill all the old poets who are still writing something. These are works by Grigory Berkovich. On the right picture, you can see interesting letters with letter like English E, Ukrainian E, it's called, and you can see there not horizontal crossbar, but vertical stem inside. I like this letter E, or E in English, and I decided to be inspired by this heritage, and I haven't created this typeface. It's still in progress. Maybe you know, always in progress, always, or on pause. So Exprompt is a modern display slab serif typeface with Ukrainian soul, with inner contrast. And I was inspired, as I already showed you, by Grigory Berkovich. It's a cover from 1932, and by the work of Vasil Krichevsky from 1928. You can see some examples, and I'm also trying to use some ascenders and descenders, for example, in small letter K for Ukrainian Cyrillic, because it's more traditional for Ukrainian Cyrillic. I'm trying to use this rounded tail in letter U and all other small things, like to reinvent this inspiration and heritage in the modern context. So you can see this letter, which inspired me. And also, I would like to show you this work. This work is by Petro Holodny, Jr., and it is written here, Soldiers of My Legion. You can see also letter E, and I don't know why this letter inspires me so much. It inspired me to create a typeface called Guard Mono. It's also still in progress. It's a monospace typeface. It has several meanings of the naming, but no time to talk a lot about, many slides. So I'm trying to use also some historical shapes. For example, you can see letter Zh with descender, which is also quite traditional for Ukrainian writing, for Ukrainian letters. Yeah, you can see it here on this slide. And I used Guard Mono for almost all my posters after the beginning of the war. for the posters to support Ukraine, because it was inspired by the book cover Soldiers of My Legion. This typeface has some sharp character, and I created this installation in Weimar in Germany on the Independence Day of Ukraine to support my country. Here is another work by Petro Holodny, and you can see the first letter D, and it's asymmetric, yeah, with one descender. And for example, this is the typeface called Almaz by Serhiy Makarenko. He is a part of Alpha Bravo Type Foundry, Ukrainian Type Foundry, and he created together with Kirill Tkachov this typeface, and also you can see this letter D with like asymmetric letter D. You can see here letter N, which is something between traditional Ukrainian letter N and like Latin, so Ukrainian traditional with Greek roots, and you can see letter J with ascender, and also you can see here on the right picture in the middle, last two letters, there is a ligature of two letters I, U. I have found that it's also quite traditional for Ukrainian language, for our heritage, to use a lot of ligatures, but I like this one. You can see in the header here, on the left and on the right, covers this ligature. You can see it here in two works. Also, the right work is by Hnizdovsky, and a lot of Ukrainian graphic artists they used this ligature, but now you can't find it in typefaces. Yeah, so we are trying to use our heritage, and you already saw this ligature in my logo for the Green Theater. I love it. And the last project, which I would like to show you, is my project created during art residency in Weimar. It's called Ukrainian Letters Temporary Museum. Temporary because it existed only during 1 month, and I called it like the smallest and the only one museum of Ukrainian letters in the world. It was a small exhibition window, not far from the Bauhaus Museum, and people were walking on the street, and they were looking at these letters. And this museum, these are revivals of the works of 33 prominent Ukrainian graphic artists. The letters were found on the book covers, on other printed materials, started from 1917, at the time of Ukrainian National Republic, and to the present days of independent Ukraine. So these are some photos of my exhibition. And I wanted to show the diversity and the beauty of Ukrainian letters, of our heritage. I wanted to show not to type designers, but to all people that letters are not only a tool of visual expression of language. Letters are art, and I use this letter from Robert Lisowski's cover. I used this letter U with this tail from the work of Vasil Khrushchevsky from 1926. And of course, I used this letter N, traditional Ukrainian letter N, from the work of Georgy Narbut, who is the father of Ukrainian alphabet and Ukrainian graphic design. And Ukraine was invisible during the long time of history. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to see my colleagues from Ukraine here. And it's quite important for us to be heard, to finally be visible, and to talk about our language and to talk about our heritage, because we have deep heritage and we have cool modern designers, and I want you to know about them. Thank you, and Slava Ukraini!
Hello. Yeah, Laura had to run because she has typewritten. Anybody has questions? Please raise your hand. It's hard to see in this glaring light. No? Okay.
We can have a small talk after.
That's it. You can meet her in the break. So thank you all for your attention, and we're going to get ready for the next speaker. Thank you.
With me, Dan Radigan.